I always like the idea of being able to navigate around sheets, to be able to look at ones that you're not on at the moment, or to be able to click on something and get there without having to search around in the UI or the spreadsheet. So if I wanted to go down to the bottom of this sheet and scroll to the right to see what was over there, you kind of lose track of what you're doing. So I thought maybe there was a way to get a kind of a mini version of the sheet on the sidebar. Of course, the problem with that is that the mini version of the side sheet might not be readable. So I started thinking about perhaps there was a way of using like a fisheye to be able to focus in on particular parts of the sheet that you were looking at. So I've come up with this. This isn't a complete add-on, it's more of a proof of concept. It uses some interesting techniques. So let's take a quick look at what we're able to do here. So you can see that by scrolling around here, then what you're looking at becomes readable. And you can scroll to the right, and you can see that as I'm doing that, none of the things that are on the main screen are changing position. And similarly, I can move down, and you notice there that when I clicked on a cell, let's do that again, it changes the active position in the sheet, which is kind of useful, but even more useful if it's something that's not on the main sheet. So if I wanted to, let's say, go to that cell H7, then it takes me directly there without having to scroll around in the main sheet. You'll notice also that things are happening with colors, and the reason is because it's collecting information about activity in a particular cell. So it's kind of a hotspot of places that there's a lot of activity. So for example, if I change some of these things, change a whole bunch of stuff here, then what will happen is that the cells that I just changed start to be colored in. So if I make lots of changes in a particular cell, let's choose a couple around here, and so on, and you'll notice that they're starting to take shape, so you can see the hot spots and places that you've changed. And another useful thing is I can go to a different sheet other than the one I've got showing in the UI. So this is what's on this other sheet. Let's go back a bit to here up the top. So this is the second sheet in this book, and you can see I'm able to do the same sort of stuff, and I haven't actually moved off the focus here. So if I go here, you can see what that sheet looks like in real life. Of course, I can use the same trick of clicking on something and going there, and it takes me to that other sheet and focuses me back there. So the other thing that's of interest is if you're familiar with the way that Google Sheets works, it's not super easy to detect when things have changed on the main sheet and reflect them in the client. And that's because there isn't a push notification capability between the server side, which is running over here, and the client side, which is running in the browser. So I'm using Ephemeral Exchange, which is a cross-platform cache, to be able to communicate between the server side and the client side. So in other words, what we're doing is subscribing to changes that happen on the server side, and when changes happen on the server side, information will be written to the cache, which in turn will provoke a push notification to the client side, which can then react in the way that we've seen. So when I change things around, go and change these back, then we'll be able to see that that gets reflected over on the client side. And the way it did that was, you can see these are all back at yes now, and the way it did that was to send a push notification by having changed the cache. And that's it. If you want to know more about this, I'll post some links in the comments section of this video, and of course it's all open source, so you're welcome to play around with it and give me some feedback on how it works out for you.